Recently, Punk released a Dark Souls video that was outstanding. Wanted to watch it a couple more times before the podcast, but unfortunately, I got distracted with Ragnarok. But this video he made really connected with me and how I like to process my thoughts on those series in general. And do you want to go ahead and explain your ambitions for your YouTube channel and maybe a little bit of information from that video?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll start small scale first and then go up to just the YouTube channel in general.
Okay.
So, yeah, that Dark Souls video was kind of a funny story. That was easily the most stuck I have ever gotten in making a video. I was like, oh gosh, what do I write about? You know, the Souls community is known for like eating people alive kind of sometimes, and I didn't want to like put wrong things or anything that like was going to be too contentious, but I also wanted to really say my genuine thoughts. And so I was like, oh, what do I include? What do I not include? And so by the end of it, I was like, this is just going to be another flop video, huh? It's as a small YouTuber, that's kind of one of those thoughts in the back of your mind that some of your videos just aren't going to get grabbed by the algorithm and just not going to do great. But I was like, you know what? Perfection is the enemy of good. And I've made a good video. It's not going to be perfect. Pushed it out and it exploded. As far as a small YouTuber with only 300 subs, 17,000 views is nothing to scoff at for a video. At least that's where it stands at the time of recording. And I keep seeing subs rolling in. The comments have been overwhelmingly amazing and inspiring. Everybody has been super supportive. And so really kind of to bring that out into a wider scope of why that video got made, along with my whole channel, is this whole PunkDisorder channel was kind of made as a bit of a pushback against the sentiment around gaming right now. One thing that I've noticed, and I'm sure a lot of people have noticed, is with the millennial generations especially, a lot of us grew up on video games, and a lot of millennials, I've been seeing the question float around, are video games even fun anymore? Is there anything to like about them, or I'm feeling much more like I'm wasting my time playing games than actually getting enjoyment out of it. And that's one of those sentiments that I thought about for the longest time, because it's like, man, do I enjoy games? And kind of doing my own self-reflection, and every time I would talk to people, people in my life or whatnot, they'd be like, man, you really like video games. Have you ever thought about like writing for a game journalism magazine or something like that? And I was like, nah, I'm not good enough to talk about that or do that and whatnot. But I kept on feeling like there needs to be some voices of positivity around games, because the sentiment around games is so overwhelmingly negative. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but there was just the slew in the past month of nothing but negative Overwatch 2 videos. And while absolutely there are things to be criticized there, I've been having a blast with the game, and I think that there really is a place for people to remember that we can talk positive things about games. Yeah, there's kind of crappy companies out there. The industry can do some real shady stuff, but at the end of the day, there's still a lot of joy and fun and happiness and connection that we can make with other people and to ourselves and our own personality through video games. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to go through in the channel, and that's why I started the Why I Still Play series, is because a lot of the games that I still play are like 5+ years old. Dark Souls, Skyrim, MapleStory, all these games that I have featured so far, and plan to feature in the future. They're all relatively old games, quote unquote, but there's some charm or some magic that keeps bringing me back to them. And I just wanted a place that I could kind of explore that and discuss usually a broad overarching topic about the game, and then focus in on a more narrow discussion specifically pertaining to that game. So like the Dark Souls video, going back to that, was called Dark Souls and the Perfection of Narrative and Gameplay, or the Perfection of Gameplay Narrative. And it started with a good 2 minutes of talking about how video games are the ultimate entertainment medium and really the ultimate form of art for telling a story that the player has to feel the most viscerally. When a game is sad, it doesn't need to scream, "You are now sad." It's it can show you. It knows when it's just had a sad moment. You know, there's a difference between reading a book about how somebody had to pull the trigger to kill their best friend and having to do it in a game. There really is a difference in how you interact with those sorts of things. And so that was kind of, you know, how the Dark Souls video shaped up. Was a lot of games are really good at weaving their gameplay and narrative together, as we've all heard the buzzword ludo narrative. But I think Dark Souls was the #1 game to do that because of how obscured and how toned down and almost non-existent the storytelling is, at least the explicit storytelling. It gives you like a 5-minute blurb at the beginning yelling a bunch of, you know, proper nouns at you and saying, "Ah, yes, Anito, Lord of Death, and Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight." And you're like, okay, what does all this mean? And then Dark Souls lets you figure out the story through gameplay, through items, through just environmental features. And I think that is such a great way to kind of point out and prove, see, this is how video games can be art. They can tell stories without words, and that's what a lot of art does. I have been rambling.
That was beautiful. Well stated. Oh man, I probably go through several versions of that every morning with myself. So it's definitely very nice talking to someone that can definitely share that perspective. And so you're throwing a bit of the ambitions you want from your YouTube channel, just basically expressing how you feel about other games as well.
Yeah, the thing that got me to really start this, about other games as well, the thing that really got me to start this is because I always kind of had a problem with the motivation, where I would always be like, "Oh, do I really want to?" You know, I can't really do a YouTube video. I don't have enough time. I always made excuses to myself. Oh, I don't have enough time. I don't have this. Nobody's interested in what I have to say. 17,000 views later. You know, none of the, I'm not significant enough. There's no way that this is gonna go anywhere. And then I told myself, well, then what if you don't do it for everybody else? What if you just make this for you? I was like, what do you mean? And I just kind of convinced myself, what if you treat this in some way, like make it significant to you, and then let other people find it? That's what it is. It is I was like, okay, I'll treat it like an online diary, almost a journal. I am just as much explaining why I play these games to other people as I am explaining to myself. Because growing older, I'm in my late 20s, and I don't know how much longer I have with either time to be invested in video games or just, you know, physical dexterity. You know, life is short, anything can happen. I want there to be something of a memoir, I guess, of how passionate I was for this form of art, because, you know, not always do we get the time to really record our thoughts and feelings on the things that brought us the most joy and gave us the most happiness in life. And I think that that's what I wanted to do for myself for video games. Was I want to remind myself and anybody else that might want to listen why video games were so revolutionary, at least in my life. I don't know how much they've changed or influenced other people's lives, but this is what, you know, games have done in my life, and I want other people to experience that. And so if people listen, cool. If it was me talking to the sky for, you know, hours and hours, I would be cool with that too, because that is where I wanted that, you know, that is what I am focused on, and that is the mindset I'm going to grip onto from 10 to 100 to 1,000 to however many subscribers, you know, show up. I am still writing videos to explain to myself why I am so passionate about this form of art.
Awesome. That's I swear I could probably listen to you talk about that for hours.
I'm invested, man. Video games are fun.